Hey, welcome back to Adventure AI. This is your host, Tyler Crump, joined by...
Jason Conforto. Good to be here, Tyler Crump, on Adventure AI.
Yes, thank you.
On our recap episode.
This is a recap episode of Season X, Season 10.
Season Twitter.
Which is actually called The Curse of the Tempest Fury. Is the name of the season. That's what we're going to call
it.
I
like that twist, though.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Mostly because I guessed it already.
You did? I was like, what the crap, Maddie?
That's kind of my
Let's
thing.
start there, Maddie. How about we start there?
Yeah.
What the heck, right?
Well, because you're like, oh man, there's honestly, the AI is the one who gave it away. It's the ghost ship, the Tempest Fury, and it's like all of a sudden your ship becomes ghost-like. It's like, that's us. We're the ghost ship.
We're the ghost.
It's the friends you make along the way, and the friends you don't reveal to your other friends.
I was hoping at the very end that there would be a bloodied eye tortoise that came out and joined our crew as well.
Oh yeah,
that would have been nice.
Tortoise, but I shot
zombie
him.
tortoise.
My bad.
Oh, zombie tortoise. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes, Questmaster Quill.
It's the friends we eat along the way.
Yeah.
They never return.
Well, that's why sailors used to carry tortoises with them on their ships.
Stop with the tortoise facts.
Wait. Why did they
So
carry them?
whalers and pirates back in the day,
Yeah.
for hydration and food, if they ever were going to get out there, there's kind of the understanding. It's like, if it comes to shove, I'm going to eat you, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
like, yeah, no, it's cool.
We're talking about the tortoise still, right?
No, we're talking about the human beings.
Okay.
But to avoid things to get into that point, they would stop at places like the Galapagos Islands and things
and grab tortoises.
because they can survive on almost nothing.
Oh.
And so they just throw them in the bottom and just let them live there. And so when they'd run out of food, they'd go and eat the giant tortoises.
Oh, delicious.
This
That
has
would make
been
sense.
whaling and tortoise facts with Maddie, an incredible Venn diagram that I have a lot of knowledge on. It's mostly the autism.
Yeah. She's got the rhythm with the tism.
Got hit with the tis stick.
So she. No, that's interesting. We are going to announce today a new podcast called Maddie and Tortoises. No,
Maddie and tortoises and isopods and Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, so that being said, yeah, you did guess it early. I tried not to reveal too much. What the AI was actually having me do was they were trying to have subtle moments where we would reveal pieces of information in an attempt to give you guys a chance to see. So, for example, the animals in the island were supposed to be close to you, but not aggressive because
they're specters or something.
Well, so what was actually happening, and I probably didn't go into it as much as we probably needed to, but from the perspective of the campaign was you just saw everything else as bad. You saw things as being cursed, you saw things as bad, but the tortoise that you encountered, it was not a bleeding-eyed tortoise. It was just a normal tortoise.
Oh, no wonder it didn't.
That's why I didn't.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't taste bad, right? And that's why when you checked and you did your perception, I said, "Oh yeah, the tortoise is fine."
Yeah.
Because
why
the tortoise
was he following us though? What tortoise would do that?
Yeah, he was interested.
How would you know?
I don't know. Well, guess we'll never know because now he's dead.
So the animals.
This has been Tortoise Facts by Maddie.
The animals
that tortoise super dead, and that's on God.
It is. So the tortoises, and there was actually supposed to be these what they call them ghost squirrels, is what those were that were hiding.
Aww.
But
in the red eyes.
Yeah, but what we had decided between me and Questmaster Quill, me and Quill, was that they were going to be non-aggressive, but if they were threatening enough, which some players that ends up being the case, they attack everything, and if you were to attack, they would attack back. But then
squirrels.
Yeah, but it ended up being a non-combat issue because you guys didn't, right? Which was
surprising.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that you guys didn't attack.
I think we did send your giant sea turtle to
they were
attack
just
it, but
chilling.
Yeah.
It's the only ghost squirrels I'm aware of are the ones I dropped that devastating kick on in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes, that's right. Those poor turtles. Yeah. So let's see. Ross, what did you think? How did things go?
You know what? I think so we're talking about the AI.
Yeah,
right?
AI
Let's
and
talk
everything.
about how the AI worked. I felt like between this experience and the one that we had before, or the one I've had before on this show, is that I think it was weird. I think last time I got really hung up in building a character during the character creation.
Yeah.
Right. And we talked about backstory, and I spent a lot more time on that. Whereas this time I spent more time on the species and the what this person was, what this character was.
Yeah.
And I think
you brought a bucket of water too. I feel like the audience doesn't truly appreciate how amazing that is. Is that dude did roll up with a bucket of water. Oh man, it sat next to him the whole night.
but and then let it sit next to me. I only used it once, right?
It was great though.
It was. I actually probably enjoy. I think I'm realizing I enjoy the character, like building the character's personality and all of that. I think I enjoyed that more last time, and I kind of wish, even after like I left last time, I thought I wish I'd spend more time fleshing out the backstory and making up those things. Because at the end of the day, the rest of it is just numbers, right?
Yeah. Right.
So yeah,
Jason.
So I played with the AI in between the sessions, and I wanted to do 3 things with it. Where you had given me, or Questmaster Quill had given me that overpowered cauldron.
Right? The cauldron of game breaking.
Yeah, the cauldron of game breaking. I could cast spells, and as a chef, I wanted to do food pairings.
Yeah.
Right. And so I spent 20 minutes or so talking with the AI, explaining who my character was, how everything wanted to be food themed and culinary themed, but have like a seafood twist to it and a pirate twist to it and stuff. And I basically programmed it so I could tell it if I was going to do a food pairing, a cauldron, conjuration, or a spell. And what I did is I could take any theme and put FP and then which is food pairing. So just type FP and then any word, and it would pair that with a word, with a food.
Yeah.
Right. And so instead of going like, hey, what should this food or what should this situation remind me of? And
asking that every time.
So it was just a shortcut for that. And I did the same thing with spells, SP for spell, and then the name of the spell and what I wanted the spell to do. And then it would have an incantation that my character could say. And then same with the cauldron of culinary conjuring. I would just type CCC and then what I wanted to conjure. And then it would write it up for me. So I just wrote that little shortcut. And I thought it did a good job. Although talking about food wasn't as fun as I thought it was going to be throughout the podcast. So I apologize.
I'm starving.
I know. We didn't get dinner tonight either. So it's we're feeling it. But we're going for tacos afterwards, right?
Maybe. We'll have to talk about that. We know a place that's really good. Shout out to Tacos Lopez. Okay. Olé. That being said, taking a step back, because I know that we're most fresh on our mind is the actual gameplay episode, but going back to the character creation and kind of what Ross is talking about, we did make some changes, which you probably saw, and I think it did have a tangible impact on maybe the energy a little bit of the character creation and kind of how I went through that. But we had tried using the ChatGPT and like its conversational mechanism, right? Where you could, on the apps, at least you have the ability to like turn on a feature that allows you to just kind of talk with it. And what that did for us was it changed the way we previously had been doing it with Alex.
Well, yeah. And I just kind of wanted to say, like, throughout the whole process with this character, and just like when I've brought these same kind of techniques to games that I do at home, something that I really liked about that is more so the flavor aspect, where I actually feel like I've really gotten over the whole give me my whole character kind of thing. And if you can't tell, like, for example, I chose something very silly that obviously ChatGPT is not the one. It's like, you should be 2 kobolds. But like, we just kind of took it and ran with it. And I just think that that's like such a fun application though to bring to your at-home tables of like actually coming up with whatever you want to do and then just doing it as the flavor piece. Yeah. And especially with the talk to speech that we had, that made it so much easier to be like, oh, give me this like flavor type thing, which is where it was a lot of fun.
I think the whole talk, or what is it called again?
It's just like a speech to text is essentially what it's doing.
Speech to text thing. It was good. It was a little bit faster than what we're used to, and the audience knows we trim out long pauses when Alex is doing stuff and all that. But it's still not perfect yet, right? No. So we can't have it as a true member of the podcast yet. Yeah. But I don't think it's far off. I think it's just just what it could do versus what we were doing before was is leaps and bounds.
Yeah, and I think this is a limitation of us in terms of what we do for our production value and how much we put into it. Because like when you talk to Chat GPT, the way that we do, it's like it only sees you as its own entity. So whether Jason was talking, Maddie was talking, Ross was talking, or I was talking, it always
turns into a text.
Yeah, it just turns into text, and it always thinks it's coming from the same individual. So you have to be like explicit about like, oh, this is Maddie talking, or this is Jason.
I think it's kind of beautiful about that woke robot.
Yeah, super woke. Everyone is the same.
Everyone's the same. It doesn't see. It doesn't see people.
Yeah, and I do think
it just sees how well you speak English.
Yeah, right. It's true.
Does it detect accents?
Yeah.
Yes. So I do think that the technology is technically there. If you did it in another way, like you'd have to have like some sort of middle layer that would essentially differentiate between individuals.
It's not there for.
But for what we do, it's not there,
yeah.
which is fine. And I think we're still going to work out a few kinks on how we're going to do that. But it will likely be what we're going to continue to do, mostly because it's just easier for us. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to doing this sort of hobby stuff, ease is really what matters to us.
Yeah. I think there's another aspect about using when you're using AI for these that I think there's a big chunk of it that you don't see in. I don't even think you see it in DM prep. I don't think Jason kind of talked about it a little bit too, but it's I like to use it for home brewing. So I've created, for my campaigns, I've created whole adventures. I've created magic items, abilities, spells.
Yeah.
For this one, we created the Alarin. I did start with the Sea Elf.
Yeah.
But I spent a couple hours at home just saying like, okay, let's replace these abilities. What should we use? And then kind of describing the species and their backstories, like a whole lot that didn't even show up here, right?
Yeah.
But that helped drive the abilities that I wound up picking. It was kind of a shame I didn't use all of them, but I think you had even built an Alar. I had shared my species with you. I assume you probably use that as well.
Yeah, I created an overpowered version of one as like the captain of the other ship. Yeah.
And so
it's just like funny and interesting though to me, like how we both use it very differently. Mm-hmm. Like where he's like, yes, I looked up all of these awesome abilities. I'm like, what's something funny for two kobolds to fight about? All right, I think we're ready. Stats. All right, we're ready to go play some Dungeons and Dragons. It's like, that's what's really nice about AI is depending on what kind of style of player you can have like some very decently colorful characters.
For sure. I think one of the problems I saw was there was a lack of limitations on the Cauldron of Culinary Conjuring.
Oh,
right?
sure.
And that's to be able to have
feature.
Yeah. To have every round that I could call forth a young dragon turtle.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I called forth a young dragon turtle instead of a dragon turtle is because I felt guilty calling it a full dragon turtle, right? Like I could have called a kraken or something like that.
That would have actually been tight as hell, though.
Yeah.
It would have been great.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, the
that's just DM player stuff. That has nothing to do with the AI.
But getting those limitations, right? So when you get a magic item or if you get something crafted, you otherwise you're playing make believe with kindergartners, right? Where you have all the power in the world and can do whatever you want.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like my trident, for example, too. I kind of just here's a big difference between me and Jason. I think too. It's if you in games in Dungeons and Dragons, Jason will push it. As far as you will let the rules take it, right?
Yeah. And I don't like what mine does. I'm not going to bring it up ever.
Right. And like for me, when we designed this trident, it was like creates a wave, and I felt guilty creating a wave big enough to try and capsize the ship. That seems overpowered.
You're like, dial it back.
And then I thought, it didn't explicitly say this.
All right, I'm going to do a Spirit Guardian. It's the Polar Express. And you're like, that's not.
No. Actually, I still think that one's legit.
It was tiny. It was awesome.
That one did actually fit all the rules.
8th level spell, I think.
I know, but it made me so angry.
But I definitely looked at this, and after my nat 1 on that wave, and it didn't work, I was like, that seems like a once a day spell.
Yeah.
So I probably can't cast it again. I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah. Well, never put ceilings on yourself.
I know.
Here's
what I
learned. I would never play with that cauldron in a campaign.
In a real game.
Yeah, right?
Sure.
In a one shot, it's different because we need to end that session, and nothing ends a session like summoning a dragon turtle to fight for you, right?
Yeah.
But it's just so funny, all the 3 different play styles. Of
Yeah.
I'm going to take the full 6 seconds to do an entire incantation by the powers of my wooden spoons. And then Ross is like, all right, if I come at this from a 27-degree angle, I'll hit the rest of the party. And I'm like, I hit it with my bow. And I also have a weird accent. Hey!
And yet, I'm sure the audience appreciates you more than the rest of us.
I can't be allowed to do joke characters ever again.
It's funny. No, we love the 2 kobolds. Another thing I think that was now as I think about it and looking at these overpowered things, how much would it suck to fight this cursed boat if you have? It's like, there's this cursed boat. There's a guy with a magic cauldron that can summon dragons.
There's a merman with this badass
Tell me how
and a strange shaped dragon.
Tyler, for you, how frustrating was it that you gave us these magic cannons and we're like, pass.
It wasn't super frustrating. What I was actually thinking was going to happen when I first was going through this with Quill was that there was going to be some level of combat from a distance.
Oh, gotcha.
And the reality is that it just took us so much longer than I thought to do some things that I was like, no, we're just we're not.
Like what?
Like getting the ship its powers.
Campaign versus one shot.
Campaign versus one shot. But so it was like, I was thinking when we were designing it together during the prep period was like, this is cool. Let's give them some cannons and we give it some agility so then we can have like a ship to ship at some distance combat. And then some event was going to happen that was going to then bring them into close combat. And it was just like, no, this is not.
It fails. I try to do this.
I didn't realize that there was only 2 cannons. I was excited for my turn when I thought there was like 10 cannons.
You're gonna light off a chain lightning from this side.
All of them just like.
And to be clear, I only asked Quill one time what powers to give, and it gave. So when I first did it, I was trying to take a path of being like, okay, they're going to go and they're going to go to some place and they're going to get special powers for their ship and it's going to be great and we can do this combat. And then when I asked Quill to give the ship powers, then Quill was like, okay, it's one of the powers that gave you was to be soulbound. And I was like, that's a weird power. Like, why would you be soulbound to it? And then that's where it gave me the idea.
Could be 1 out of 3.
Well, that's why it gave me the idea. I was like, they're soulbound because they're cursed. Like, you are forced to be soulbound. So the curse was not originally like the idea that we got the first time from Quill. It was like when I said, let's power up the ship with magic. And one of the powers that it suggested, it gave me like 5. One of them was like soulbound, and then there was a few other things. And I was like, that's interesting. What if we just soulbound them? So in this universe that exists, you guys are technically soulbound to this boat, and you have been the entire time.
Pearl. It's like when you tell them, hey,
you're like the Black
do something
Pearl.
Similar to the Curse of the Black Pearl. And then, Alex will be like, hey, you have the Curse of the Black Pearl.
You have the Curse of the White Pearl.
So just real quick, I'll admit freely that I spend a lot of times when we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, as a player should, thinking about my next turn and what I'm going to do, to the detriment though of paying attention to what's going on in the game. Right?
I've seen that.
So a lot of times I have no idea what's going on and I just act and find out that everything I planned has no consequence or it doesn't matter. Were we dead the whole time? Like from the start of the game, did we start out dead? And were we ghosts from the very beginning?
You are soulbound to the ship, and you are like cursed beings. So like you're not necessarily
that happened at the temple, or that
no. You at the very beginning.
Before this even started.
Yes, from the very beginning, you were cursed. You didn't become cursed at the time of the temple. Like you,
it's exactly like Pirates of the Caribbean. They steal the gold, and then they become cursed. And then once the gold gets returned, then they're uncursed.
Right. So we were dead at the beginning of the campaign.
You started the campaign already.
We are dead.
And we finished the one shot dead or alive.
You are still cursed.
We're Schrodinger's pirates.
Yeah. And so we were dead the whole time. We stayed dead. And those pirates that we killed are now dead with us.
Correct.
Okay.
And
wait a minute.
And so they and us are on the same.
You are all now part of the Tempest Fury.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, are we going to keep playing this? Can we?
No.
So was Tidebreaker dead? And then he died again?
Tidebreaker is enveloped in the curse with you. You and Tidebreaker are part of the Tempest Fury curse.
So if let's say
don't,
so this is now episode 5 where Tyler explains the campaign to each and every one of them.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one who didn't. I knew something awesome happened, but I didn't know exactly how.
From the very beginning, if your ship is completely defeated, then you guys will not come back.
This is like the movie The Others.
Sure, I haven't seen
or The
that
Sixth
one, so
Sense.
Yeah.
Also, so like those movies where I guess it halfway through joking.
Yeah, and you were right.
And then I was right the whole time.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
that's really the truth.
What's your question, Ron?
if Sprocket had died, for example,
Who's Sprocket?
if half of our Dragonborn friend had died,
I'm all man. I was hoping there's going to be like a Witch King thing where it's like no man can kill me. It's like we are 2 men.
No single individual.
Man can kill me.
Single Dragonborn.
We are 2 Dragonborn.
if Sprocket had died in that battle, for example, then at the end of the episode, would Sprocket have walked up from underneath the deck the same way Tidebreaker did?
Yes.
Okay,
every person, unless the ship is defeated in its entirety, then everyone gets resurrected the following day.
Okay.
I almost in the episode, instead of casting polymorph on my familiar, cast it on.
That would have been awesome.
Maddie.
Why didn't you?
That would have been funny.
And well, I thought I would be able to cast it again later. I didn't know how much time it was going to take.
My torso.
But yeah, I was excited to see like either the bottom half of you or the top half of you turn into an orca,
and the other half
I just fall on top of the
or
other
just
one.
riding it.
That would be funny if the top half turns into an orca and crushes the bottom half. All right. Other last comments here, thoughts, feelings, things you didn't like.
Get in the comments, y'all.
I just a question for you, Tyler. What did we miss in since we didn't have a DM per episode? What did the audience miss?
Yeah, so mostly that. So what we missed was me doing the back and forth of saying like, hey, where are we going to start? How do we do, my biggest thing was like, how do we create something that is interesting enough, but still potentially confined to a boat? And I had a difficult time, like, getting things that were like on a boat only, right? It was always like, go somewhere, do this thing, go somewhere. So we knew we had to go somewhere. And then that was the thought was like, okay, let's go somewhere and empower the boat, get some cool stuff, and then do a cool ship battle.
Sweet.
And then we went from
dinner theater.
Yeah, no dinner theater. Sorry, that didn't come up.
I can't believe that didn't work out.
I know. It would have been fun. Yeah, and then
I could see Tyler being really upset when we were talking about the
so
dinner.
mad while we're all like,
I can't believe you guys. You're a cursed ship. This is serious. Dinner party.
the curse of poor reviews.
Oh, we are now going to act out the Phantom of the Opera. No,
it's the Parent Trap.
Oh no. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
That was the path that I went. And then when I saw that, it's like, okay, you're soul bound to the ship. That was a power that it was going to give you. And there was like benefits to it. I was like, oh, well, what if they were, like the Black Pearl, right? The thought being like, oh, but let's put you on the side of the cursed individuals. And essentially what happens is through a series of unfortunate events to the heroes that are trying to defeat you and stop the curse from spreading, the storm clouds that are coming through are not storm clouds that are bringing the cursed ship, but they are the storm clouds that are bringing your adversaries, which are the good guys trying to destroy you. But part of the curse is that you are perpetually in this perspective that you're actually the good guys.
Gotcha.
And what the back and forth was, we were trying to figure out how to do it. And it was like you essentially wake every day not knowing where you had previously
cleaning up
been.
the poop deck or live long enough to see yourself cleaning the poop deck, but more evil.
Yes, that's right.
So tell me this. How long did that take? Just so people, planning their own sessions, how long does it take you to plan a single?
So the hard thing that I had was like the back and forth. ChatGPT is sometimes really bad at sometimes remembering pieces of things you've done. So I'm pretty busy, so I'd be going back and forth and doing things. So I would send some of the things, get some information, then I would take that and I would kind of simmer on it for a bit because it wasn't for the episode, so I didn't have to record it all at once. And then I would come back and ask it some questions. And oftentimes it would remember the pieces, but sometimes I would ask it to like recall certain things, and then it would like do them differently. So like the ship powers, as we've seen, it does that. And then even the riddle, it only gave me so much, so I had to kind of finagle, oh, well, how do we make this riddle work? And it was like, oh yeah, no, move the constellations. And then at the time I was thinking, oh yeah, that's great, we can do that. And then as we're playing it, I was like, this is dumb. Like how do I, like they solved the riddle, but like, okay, now how do I add a mechanical aspect to the game to make them like
that was my issue, and
move
I
and spin and twist. And I was like, no, that doesn't really make sense. It's like, okay, well, we'll just use the skill check and you figure it out. But yeah. And then the other thing was I used the captain as kind of like the guy that moved the story forward.
I thought he was shifty as hell.
And he was shifty because he's the only one that actually knows
that we're cursed.
That the curse is what it is.
How did I end up on that ship? That's a real question.
Dragus never was wrong about a thing.
You were hitting it.
I was firing on all cannons tonight.
On both cylinders.
On both cylinders. On the left side, on the like
on the top and the bottom
barrel people carrying that cylinder over there.
That's right. So yes.
You know, when I do DM prep, either for this podcast or otherwise, I find that one of the frustrations can be as you're typing and talking with chat is sometimes it will give you the whole story every step. And it's like, no, I want to just concentrate on this small little thing. Like, let's just think small. And so I constantly have to say, we're only talking about this, short answers. I want brainstorming just about this. And
I also found that like I would tell it to remember things, and because the way because I don't pay for a version of ChatGPT, but through your donations through Patreon, we'll be able to afford and whatever. But when I tell it to remember things, it would actually remember it across all of my all of my chats, which is kind of funny. But
just this show or just everything?
No, just for everything that I have. So I can go in and I can clear them out and make sure that it forgets them. But like what you're saying, Jason, the repetitiveness in some cases, the long answers, ChatGPT is very verbose in some cases, extremely chatty. And then I would ask it sometimes to be like, give me a description that a DM would be able to read. And since they've added the feature where I can like click a little thing and it would like read it out loud, which is what we were using during the campaign to have it read it out loud. That was great, except for when it would say, okay, great, I'm going to give you a description that the DM could read. And then it would be the description. And then it would say, that was a description that you'll be able to read to them. And then I couldn't click that button because then it would start with, okay, here's so that was kind of frustrating. So I have to say, take that out.
ChatGPT.
No, it does embarrass us. So that's it. That's why part of the reason why some of these DM preps, we've decided to move them out of the normal rotation because they're just not as interesting episodes. So
for sure.
Cool.
I wanted to add too, one of the things about DM prep, that you were talking about when you want to focus in on just one little area is that it will, I've had the opposite problem as well, is when you start focusing on an area and say, hey, how do I fix this? How do I change this? Or how do I, let's talk about this. Let's brainstorm this.
Yeah.
It'll keep coming up with ideas. Like, like, hey, we have, for example, if you had done, hey, how do they move the constellation?
Yeah.
Experiences I would have had where it'd been like, oh, well, you could create this whole other puzzle where they figure out how to move the constellation and they have to make these checks and then these checks. And so there's also a level of it at some point when you're digging in, you have to say, okay, where am I going to stop? And just say, this is good enough.
I agree.
No, for sure.
I agree.
For sure.
Okay.
Also, being the hype beast on our Discord was very strange. It was weird, ChatGPT. Maybe relax a little bit.
Yeah, he's pretty cool that way.
Yeah. We do have it hooked up to our Discord, which you are welcome to join. I think I might have a link somewhere. Come and join us. You can come chat. I think it's dndadventureai.com will take you to our links and you can click around there. There's probably something there. Maybe the Discord link's not on there.
Yeah, we'll make a whole channel for my turtle and boat facts.
That's right. Turtle and boat facts.
Come find me there.
All right, I think that's good enough. Unless there's anything else that anyone wants to know.
No, I just want to do something that we haven't really asked for is a lot of reviews. If you're listening to the podcast and you like it and can take the time to give us a 5-star review, we'd really appreciate it.
Yes.
Also, so far we have only one written review. Of the podcast. Can I read it?
Sure. Yeah.
Would that be all right? So this is from Razor the Maker, who we
I wonder who that is.
may or may not know, and may
or may not have been on our podcast.
No, and he says, loved it, 5 stars. Lots of fun to listen to, but now I fear AI even more. Great concept, easy to get invested into the characters and the story, fun twists and additional twists.
Wow.
So thank you, nice. Razor the Maker. I think he left this review before he was on the podcast because this is from April 28th of 2023.
Oh, wow. Why have we not read that sooner?
So we have not read that sooner.
Come on, get in these reviews. If you got any hate mail, send them my way.
Yeah,
I'll come for you.
We've got 4 ratings, all 5-star, and only 1 with a written review. So if you wouldn't mind, we would love to have a
written review.
Maybe
5 stars is preferred.
I was going to say, I feel like you're looking at us a lot while you're saying
we would love to have a written review.
Yeah. I mean,
So if you leave us a 5-star review, we will read it on the podcast. So we appreciate you just doing that for us.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Adventure AI.
Hello.
Ba, 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 ba.